If you put in work, you can make it happen, especially in trading. I believe this is like the best part of this industry. Even a 5K account, you make 10%. That's already $500, right? That's a lot for like most of the people.
What's up, traders? Welcome back to another TFT interview. My name is Kenta. Today I'm joined with our trader Paul. He's funded with 200K with us, and he's actually gotten almost close to a 50K payout, which is incredible. Paul, welcome to the interview. How are you doing today, bro?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on the interview.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. I know we were talking a little bit before we started this, but tell us where you're from and a little bit about like how you got into trading.
I'm from Taiwan, and I started trading around 3 full years ago, which is like just around COVID hit. And that's my first year I studied abroad, and I was like looking ways to like make money online. And I was always into like probability games such as like trading, poker. So I was about to trade option at first, but I was located in EU, so I couldn't really find like a proper option broker. And then I was like, oh, Forex looks pretty fun and as well. So I was like, let me give this a try. And I got into trading. And since then, I've just like been trading almost like every day.
Did you start with like a live account or did you find firms like immediately? What did that look like?
No, I started from eToro, which is like a really bad Forex trading platform, I'll say. And then I've been trading, I think that's like 2 weeks. And then afterward, I was like, I don't think the broker is good. I do some more research on it. And then I switched to another broker and I started with like live account around, I think $500.
I mean, I'm curious because you just told us that you got paid out 75K. Tell us a little bit about it. I want to jump right into it. I want to see like, how did that approach? Because you've been with us since you said November. Is that correct?
Yeah, I started my challenge in November. And if you guys remember, there's like a big down push on gold. I just passed my challenge one trade, one single trade.
Nice,
I risk,
dude.
I think, 1%, and I scale in like, I think, 2 times after in a profit, and I see some good scale in opportunities, and I got in and passed the challenge in one trade. And then phase two, I think it's also on gold, but I called like 2, 3 gold buys, and I passed the challenge on phase two as well. I think I started my account on November 17 or November 20, something like that. I think it's indices just pop up on like we have the big push on like S&P 500, NASDAQ, US 30, and then I risk 0.5% and managed to grow my account for like 25%. So it's like an incredible one.
I want to know a little bit about that strategy. Like when you're risking like 1% initially for the evaluation phases and scaling in, like what did that look like? How much is the risk like as far as like the pips? And then like what did you see to like, scale in, like that type of thing?
So basically when I'm passing challenge, I don't want to spend too much time on like not making money on the actual funded account. So I risk a little bit more, like 1%. But on actual funded account, I want to take like a little bit more conservative route. So I don't surpass the daily loss like limit. So I use 0.5% per trade. I trade indices on NASDAQ. I have around like 30 pips stop loss on average, but it ranges from like 20 to 50. On US 30, I have around like 50 pip stop loss. Basically, I trade supply demand, and I'm usually intraday trading. I don't hold my position overnight unless it's like a great opportunities.
Okay. You said that you were holding a position right now on NASDAQ though, right? So this is like
Yeah,
a
that is, yeah.
potential push that you're seeing here.
Yes, I'm probably trying to hold through CPI. I already have a good position down there. I set my stop loss, like trailing it. And if CPI is open good, I might have like a crazy push.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, because I've noticed that with certain traders, they get into positions, and if they're in a winning position a little bit before news, like a few days before news, they'll just hold it. Like, tell me a little bit about the strategy there.
So basically, I don't like trading news specifically, like on the news, because I don't like it's like blowing through my stop loss or like slippage and stuff. Yeah, so usually if I get into position like before news, let's say the news is let's say 2 p.m. in like Europe time, and I'll get into position, let's say at London Open. And if I'm floating, let's say 1.5 to 2R, I'll set my stop loss to break even, probably take 50% off and just see how the news goes.
Got it. I like that. That's cool. Would you be able to show us your screen, maybe show us some of the trades you took on gold or a little bit about the
Yeah,
strategy?
sure. Okay, so this is my initial position from yesterday. I got in on this tap. I set a limit order and
As far as like you said, supply and demand, I see some indicators. It looks like some moving averages, like kind of run us through like a top-down analysis.
so basically my initial setup on indices is bullish, especially when we see like the push since October here. And then I keep being bullish on indices and I see this really good like demand zone on 4 hours. I just mark it up. And when I go back down to like 15 minutes,
What in like moving average was that on the 4 hour that you were looking at?
it's called Trend Trader. It's basically just a combination of 50 and 100 EMA.
150. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so it's more like a scale in way for me. When I see like a good retest, I can probably scale in after like a nice break and a nice retest. I have this demand zone actually from 5 minutes, but yeah, I usually mark my zone up on 15. I think I triggered this in the morning. I woke up around 9. I see this is coming really close and I set like a limit order and then I just saw it triggered and it popped up to here. But I thought I'm not gonna get another entry. But then when I go back down to 5 minutes, I see like a really, really good retest around the EMA. So I was like, it looks nice to like scale in.
Right.
So I get another position in that's from yesterday around like just before New York Open. And then we see this massive push to the upside after like an hour or an hour and a half or so. So I've been keep holding that until today. Basically, today has like a big pullback. I got stop out once actually here around here, I think, somewhere around here. I got stop out once when I tried to scale in, but I see another like tap into like a nice demand zone or like a nice zone. So I scale in again like around today before New York Open as well.
And how much are your scale-ins? Are you like 0.5, you said, or
Yeah, I'm only risking zero point 0.5. Actually, I see this on the podcast of like Titan of Tomorrow. Yeah, so they say if you treat like scaling as another position, it's like better for your risk management, basically. And that's how I see my like initial improvement in like better risk management and like taking partial and etc. etc. Yeah. Usually that's in my second year when I'm trying to like scale in. I usually just trail the stop loss and I'm trying to scale in and put my stop loss at my original position, like the trailed one. I'm not actually looking at structure and I'm not looking at actually what's going on in the market. I'm just trying to make more money by putting more money in the market. So I'm not actually focusing on how much I should risk and when should I take partial, etc. So it's gonna mess up like trading plan and also my psychology.
okay, so because you're already scaled, like you're already into a winning position, then you're looking to scale into another position, but you're looking for the same amount of points for the stop loss, like you said, like
Yeah, basically, yeah.
so mainly just supply and demand, right? You said so these you took trades off like the demand zone and you're looking to follow this uptrend basically. Can you dive a little bit more into strategy? Is it just that simple or is it like how did you get to this like today?
I feel like the massive improvement I see in my first half of this year, my third year, it's when I actually start actively taking partial. Yeah, sometimes we aim for a trade that's like 1 to 6 or 1 to 10. When you aim for a high risk reward, the win rate is not going to be high. So I start taking 50% off when my first initial target is hit, which is usually 1 to 2 or 1 to 1.5. So I secure somehow of the profit. And then I set my stop loss to break even. So if my other half hit stop loss, I'm fine with it.
For that first position you took, at what point did you take like 50% off?
In this case, if we go into supply demand, we might see another supply zone around here if we draw like roughly. So I'll set an alert right here to like potential reversal point, and I'll just take partial off here. I'll just take 50% off, set my stop loss to break even, and let the rest run.
Got it. Okay. And that's where you also scaled in though.
Yeah, I scale it a little bit after I see like a good break of that supply zone. If I see a great opportunity, yeah, I'll scale in because I see another opportunity.
So how did you draw out like your demand zones exactly? Like what do you look for? Is there a certain like candle pattern, or is it just the bottom of the last up push from the momentum, or like
I think I draw out like most free course you're gonna see online. Like it's the last like big push, like the last different candle. If you're looking for a bullish move, you're looking for a less bearish candle. But I think the only part I'm doing different is choosing my supply and demand zone actually, because you're gonna have a lot of zones, but you don't know which one is the best. I feel like this is coming from like experience and how you react to the market. I don't think that is something you can actually be extremely subjective.
so for instance, that first bottom demand zone that you chose, it's not the entire candle that you chose. It's just like part of the wick and then a bit of the body. Like how did you come to like choosing that specific little section of demand zone?
So sometimes when I see like too big of a candle like this, I think it's caused by news, I think,
Okay.
or just after news. So I usually just scale down to like maybe let's say 5 minutes. If I can refine the zone a little bit better like this, then I'll take it off there. So my stop loss would not be, let's say, 70 pips, way above like my average.
Yeah, and you just kept the stop loss like just below your demand zone, basically.
Yes.
When you're looking to enter, you're trying to be as precise as possible, but with your stop loss below either the demand zone or above the supply zone.
Yes.
Okay. And how do you decide, like, as far as like when it comes to like, because it looks like clear market structure you're following, what do you like exactly are you looking at as far as like on a higher time frame, deciding which way you're going to go? Are you looking for like a break of structure? Like, what is it that you look for to decide, hey, I'm going to go for buys today?
In my first 2 years, 2.5 years, I'm a very technical person. I just look at, let's say, higher time frame, let's say 4 hour. I just look at charts like making higher high, lower low, and I decide if the trend is like that. And now in my third year, I start to add in more like fundamental analysis and more like sentimental analysis as well. I start looking at like COT data if it's aligned with my direction basis. If I'm bullish bias, I want to see like big bank also bullish bias. I've been following another YouTuber, it's called Trader Nick, since I just started. He's like a big fundamental trader and he share a lot of like free data and also in his YouTube video. So basically I just follow him and try to gather as much information for free as I possibly could.
That's awesome. So, and then as far as like mentorship or anything, do you have a mentor that you work with or have worked with in the past? Like, have you bought any courses? Like, how have you got your information to kind of build this strategy?
I'm just like all the other like traders. I bought like maybe let's say 3 or 4 courses and I realized they are just basically the same thing. And I think there's like nothing you can find for free. And like everything is free on the internet now. You don't have to like buy a course. And I think the fun thing about trading, it's like it's very personal. It's very depending on your personality. Like what's your risk tolerance? If you're very technical, you want everything to be very mechanical, or you want everything to be a little bit more discreet, you know? I don't think mentorship will be a best way for people. I think you can learn from other people and see if it works for you, but you cannot 100% copy it. I don't think it's like doable unless you're doing for like a EA or like a fully automated trade.
Yeah, because like your psychology is a big part of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he can hold the trade through for like 2 months. Maybe I can only hold the trade for 2 hours. That's very different.
In those cases, like, do you have like a community that you're connected with, friends that you're connected with that trade, or people that you connect with? Like, for instance, like imagine, you're in a trade with someone that you know, and in the same trade, like you could all of a sudden want to get out because you see a pullback and this person's like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, let the trade continue. Its thing has to wiggle, has to like retrace a little bit. Like, don't be afraid of that, like, so do you have anything like that, like community or anything?
Basically, I'm more of a trade alone person because I rather get stopped out based on my own analysis than I close my trade, let's say 2 hour in profit and they skyrocket 20 more hour, but it's not based on my decision or I got affected by others. I think community, like you have a place to discuss and share ideas, is a good thing. But when it comes to actual execution, you should be alone, and that's how you stay consistent with yourself, right? You can't be, let's say one day someone is not telling you to do this thing, you cannot just, not do it. You have to be consistent and know how to execute trade on your own.
Right. No, that makes sense. So do you trade just mainly, you said the NASDAQ and US 30? Is that kind of your,
I also trade gold, but gold recently has been, I think, a little bit choppy. So I'm not looking into gold recently. Yeah, for forex pair, I look into like maybe big pair like USD yen, those kind of stuff. But I don't trade too much forex pair.
yen can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're looking at lower time frames because of the, like
Yeah,
when it like
exactly.
wicks people out and then it goes right back to like the same price.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as like trading gold versus, the NASDAQ, do you look at the same time frames or like, is there any difference there?
No, basically I keep most of my entry and zones on my 15 minutes. That's how I base off my entry. Like I still go to like 1 hour, 4 hour occasionally to check how the market structure is and check how the market moves. But usually my execution, I'm mostly on 15 minutes.
I like how clean it is. So it's basically you use this, you called it a trend trading.
It's called Trend Trader on TradingView.
It's a 50 and a 100. Is it the EMA or just the moving EMA?
Yes.
EMA. Okay, cool. So it creates like a bit of a trend, like where it's like green as on an uptrend and then it kind of goes red on the
Yes.
downtrend. Like, are you looking for areas of consolidation to enter those demand zones? Like once it's because like you could see that first entry you had, the trend trading was sort of like a skinny. Does that really matter to you or not really?
No, not really. It's more like adding one more like confluences for me. I don't really mind if it's like consolidating as long as I see the market is moving how I want it to.
And is it time based? Like when you was like obviously it reached that demand zone, was that during like a specific time that you enter, or is it more so just as long as it hits the area that I want to get in, then it doesn't really matter like what time it is?
So basically, I just do like set and forget. I set my limit order and set my alert. If it hits, I open my chart and manage my trade accordingly. But if there's no like alert, I don't mess with it unless like some like big news just happened.
How long have you been doing this strategy specifically?
Think it's around almost a year and a half.
That's awesome, dude. Thanks for sharing your screen. I appreciate you going over the strategy with us. I'm sure some people were going to be excited to see how simple it is.
Yeah, you should just keep it simple, at least for me.
I think when some traders first get started, they're looking at a ton of different things and it can get a little bit messy and it kind of throw you off. Too many signals kind of going left and right, up and down, so
Yeah, we all been through that.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So unless you have anything else you want to share on the screen, you can unshare that. Obviously you said you're like paying attention to like fundamentals. You're sort of leaning in on like certain traders that you've seen online for that. Like, has that been that much like more helpful for you to have that kind of, is it like more of a confidence thing? Like, what does that do for you exactly?
I think it's about like in the past years, we have a lot of monetary policy going on, and Fed has been changing their mind back and forth. So I think they are one of the big influences in the past years. Maybe in the next year, they won't be that much effective as well. So I probably will stop looking into it after that. But so far, it's because like I think fundamental take up a lot of like the momentum and where the market is going for now.
What was the information that you got that was like, okay, I think the buys make sense right now? Obviously, it wasn't a major uptrend, but was there something that like came up that you were like, okay, like I think even with this pullback, like I think this is a good time to buy? Like, what was that?
So basically, this prediction is still on like rate cut this year, right? Even though after the very strong labor market, people have been thinking, oh, it might not be that likely to have a rate cut soon. But we also see the PMI going down, which is like market being exhausted. So we might need to see a rate cut soon. So the still basis of the direction of the policy is still like more of a rate cut. Unless I'll see a rate hike, then I'll just keep thinking of it's gonna be bullish indice, like bullish gold and bearish USD, etc.
There are definitely traders out there. I've spoken to some that don't even look at fundamentals at all. You should have at least a basic understanding of what's going on so that you can, you know what I mean? Like, know, okay, there's this big momentum moves. Like, there's someone that's putting in a lot of money. I don't think they're just going to be looking at purely technicals, right?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
I know we haven't really dived too much into your history, but when you first got it started, like from then to now, like, are you doing things differently from like a journaling perspective or from a, like collecting data, or like what's like the key thing that's sort of set you apart from what you were doing before to now?
Before, I'm not really journaling my trade because I wasn't that consistent. So I don't want to like embarrass myself to like write down like, let's say, oh, I lost 200 euro today and I lost another 400 euro the next day. I feel like that's a little bit embarrassing. But afterward, I feel like if I really want to take this seriously, you have to like face your mistake. You have to write it down and force yourself to be more disciplined. And I started journaling around like a month ago. And then I started with Trezilla this year. So I'm currently with them now and trying to see how my trade goes, etc.
What have you seen so far? I know it's been a short period of time, but like, has there been maybe a shift in your mindset, or like, is there something that you've seen so far that you're like, okay, I'm going to stick with this?
I think it's always like about like boosting your confidence. Let's say if I take 50% off at TP1, I already have a buffer that at least I walk away with something, right? So I'm not gonna chase the move. There's gonna be less FOMO, and I'm gonna if I win more trade, I have less revenging trade, right? So basically, it's all psychology for me.
What's like been your biggest loss so far, and like your biggest like win so far? Obviously, the getting paid out, that's like a huge thing. But as far as like one trade, like what does that look like?
I think I've been staying really consistent with my loss on my funded account. My biggest loss is probably on the day. It's probably like 8K, which is like a 4%. So it's not that bad. Of course, there's some bad trade in it, like a little bit of revenge trade. I think it's still within acceptable range. And the biggest trade I had, of course, is I think it's the gold trade. I passed my challenge. I also is trading that on my personal account. I think I flipped my whole small account from like 4K to like 11K or something.
Is that recently, or was that with the same trade?
Yeah, that was the same trade back in November.
You passed the firm phase one, and you also flipped your own private account on the side.
Yes.
You're definitely fully confident in that trade. You're like, I'm gonna take this on my live account, and then I'm also take this on the phase one.
I feel like if I'm taking a trade, I'm like I should be responsible of that entry. So if I'm taking it on my personal account, I'm definitely going to take it on my funded account. And I don't think I should treat them differently based off entry and stop loss size. The only thing that is different is the lot size. I can risk more on my personal account because my capital is smaller. And also I don't have like those like regulation. Of course, the downside is my drawdown is going to be bigger, but of course you can play around with the number.
Are you doing this full time, or do you also work on like have a job like 9 to 5 type of thing?
No, I'm still a full-time student, but I usually trade and lecture, so I can consider a full-time trader as well, I guess. Yeah, in some sense.
That's great. So how old are you, man?
I'm 22 this year.
22, dude. That's incredible, bro. That's incredible. 22 years old. He's got a 200K account. Got paid out over close to 25% of the account already.
Yes.
On a great path. If there's like someone out there that's struggling right now, a trader that maybe has been, trying to pass, like, get to the funded phase, or maybe they're trying to trade a live account, they just keep losing it. What do you suggest they do, or like, what's your advice for that trader?
I feel like the most thing that most traders like struggling with is like strategy hopping, and they are to believe in what strategy would work and what strategy won't work. But I feel like there's a decent amount of discrete in your trading. That's where your edge come from. Like, how do you define your zone? How do you define your trend? And I think every strategy work as long as you put in work and understand how you want to manage your risk and how you want to manage your positions. Maybe just stick to what you feel the most comfortable and try to like stick to it for 6 months, a year, and start with like smaller capital that you are afford to lose instead of, let's say, your 1 month salary and put it all in a funded account. You blow an account and you're gone. You don't have any money. I don't think that is good for your mentality, and I don't think that's a good way to start trading.
Yeah, I agree. You got to start somewhere, but maybe not all your money, right? Do you recommend that traders start demo, or do you think it's important that they start with at least a small amount of like their own money to like have the emotions kind of tied to it?
I'm definitely more on the live account side because you only need demo to learn how to execute trades, like how to use the app or how to use the thing on your like computers. When it's like fake money, you don't actually feel anything. Like I can make tons of money on demo account, right? Because I don't feel anything. When it's switched to on your live account, even it's just $200, you still feel a lot going on because it's like your hard working money. So you have to get used to seeing the drawdown and seeing how your trade like shoot up and how you want to manage it.
Especially at a certain point, you're like, I don't think I could just trade demo to like, I need to feel like I have some skin in the game, right? Even if it's a little bit. What are your plans, man? What are your, like, you're in school now, you're obviously doing well with the firm. What's your like goals? Like, what are you looking to do?
So I'm trading on my personal account right now, which is around 100K, and I'm trying to grow it to 200K before this year end. Also, like get into more firm probably. I'll try to get like max allocated with you guys, like well on the like the leaderboard, you know, all the big names.
Yep.
Try to
Yep.
get funded with them as well, and also keep up with my study as well. I cannot just drop out and do all this thing. I still have to focus on what I got to do.
What are you studying?
So I'm in business administration and I'm on a finance track. So I probably get into asset management in the future for my master as well. So I think it's a great combination when I have made some money from trading and I want to know how to deploy all my like profit and try to have multiple stream of income and reach financially freedom as soon as possible.
That's awesome, man. I wish you the best. Is there any last words that you want to share with the audience before we go?
Absolutely stick to it. If you put in work, you can make it happen, especially in trading. I believe this is like the best part of this industry. Let's say you get past even a 5K account, you make 10%. That's already $500, right? That's a lot for like most of the people.
Yeah, stick to it, guys. I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's just not quit. Whether or not you're going through tough times, you just have to like stick to it. Maybe, you know, go back to the drawing board, figure out what you're doing. Because usually you're doing something, you're being consistent in some way. You're either consistently losing or you're consistently winning. So what is it that's causing you to consistently lose if that's the case in what you're doing? And you need to maybe go, like you were saying, like looking at your journaling and face your fears, face your losses and go, okay, how did I lose this many trades? What am I doing wrong? Like, you know,
Yes, definitely.
I appreciate you, Paul. Thanks for hopping on with us. I would love to have you back on here again at some point if you're willing to, maybe after you get some more funding and some more payouts.
Of course.
See if maybe you're still with the same strategy. Maybe something will be a little different. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm planning to withdraw probably this weekend as well, just before this weekend. So we'll see how it goes. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks again. We appreciate you guys. If you guys love this video, love this interview, please subscribe, hit the like button, leave some comments down below, say what's up. You know, we're here. I know 70% of you guys aren't subscribed that are watching, so just hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, thank you guys so much. Peace.